Beantown, Beatdown.
Matthew Barnes.
Gabe Shamus.
Yep. Here to redo our special edition episode, the best boxing matches of HBO. This is a new can opener, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. He got it.
Yeah.
All right, here, I'll do this one.
Yep. Now, of course, originally I had my list, but this one I don't have my list, so I'm just going to round off some matches here.
Yep, off the top of the head, top of the old dome.
Right?
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, this is good. Crispin original. Got this last night.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it. You know, my personal favorite matches from HBO Boxing. Well, one, there's the Gotti Ward. Of course, you got to mention all three of those fights.
Yes.
All three of those fights were action-packed. This is just like back in the 1950s, you know, the 40s and the 50s. It was just action, no strategy, just get in there, get in a fist fight, and there.
And that's that. And you know, those that have watched our ringside episodes, you know that we did one of those, did we not?
No, we didn't do
Gotti Ward 3?
No, we didn't do Gotti Ward 3. We done Ali Frazier 3.
Oh. No, we didn't do any of the Gotti Wards?
No, we didn't do that, but we'll come up with a we'll come around to that. We'll do an episode on that soon enough.
All right. Yep. So also we should mention the reason we're talking about the top HBO boxing matches is because the news that a lot of you may have known by now.
HBO is going out of business. HBO's not going out of business, but they're no longer going to be doing boxing.
Right. HBO Boxing is going to be no more. Yes.
Yeah. And to make matters even worse, if you have Sling cable TV, unfortunately they stopped carrying HBO. Damn you, Sling!
Sling. We'll do a death cry and revenge. Yeah. But so that we decided, you know, to do this episode, and now redo this episode, because, you know, in honor of all the great boxing matches on HBO in the past, and you know, it's the end of an era, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Also, another great trilogy, Holyfield Bowe 3.
Nice.
Yep, that was one of the best trilogies ever. You know, one of the best heavyweight trilogies next to Ali Frazier.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, those guys, they really went at it, and, you know, it helped both their careers. You know, it gave Holyfield a lot of respect, and, you know, because people weren't respecting him when he won the championship because he didn't fight Tyson.
Right.
But it was those fights, I think, it was those fights that led him to those fights with Tyson, you know, because everybody saw the heart and the guts, and they really respected him after, you know, even after the first fight with Bowe when he lost.
Yeah, definitely.
So after that, boom, you know, he, you know, that led him to fight Tyson. Unfortunately for Bowe, that was sort of the last great hurrah for him. I mean, even though he won 2 fights by getting disqualified by Andrew Galata, you know, he was just, you know, after that, he just stopped boxing, got lazy, and, you know, of course he lives a good life now in Florida. Him and Holyfield are friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're good friends.
Yeah. But yeah, so that also harkens back to a better time in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Also, another great fight that happened on HBO, Oscar De La Hoya versus Fernando Vargas. And let me tell you something. There was a lot of bad blood, even in their younger days, because Vargas used to train with De La Hoya back in Big Bear. And he said that one time he was jogging, and then he tripped, and then he reached up his hand for De La Hoya to help him, and De La Hoya just looked back at him and laughed. And he said, like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go kick his ass.
Right. Yeah, revenge can definitely be, can definitely be a big thing. You know, and there's a lot of you know, range of opinions about whether, you know, how civil you should be to your opponent or not. You know, you know, and we talked about this. We talked about when Lady Gaga was harsh on Ronda for not touching gloves. Yeah. You know, it's that's a tough one, because I'm kind of, you know, I can kind of see both sides on that, you know, but you know, because you know. You know that I talk about politics sometimes on this, and even though he doesn't like it as much, and you know, and you know, I feel like in politics you should not be too civil to the people that are you know, that are attacking, you know, all of your values. You should not be too civil to people that are going against, you know, the things you believe in. So you know, so I can see why, you know, sometimes, you know, especially in a sport like boxing, a sport like, you know, fighting, you have to face your opponent one-on-one. I can see how that would be like, you know, you'd be completely tempted to just be like, you know, F you, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And of course, Vargas talked a lot of shit to Oscar, and mind you, Vargas was not too long ago he fought Trinidad. Yeah, and of course Trinidad whooped his ass. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he put on a good performance against Oscar. You know, it was a back and forth, and then Oscar, of course, won by 11th round knockout.
Wow. Yeah.
TKO. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that was really the beginning of the end for Vargas. I mean, he then went on to lose 2 fights with Shane Mosley, and then he lost a fight to Ricardo Mayorga, which was his retirement fight, and now he's got brain damage.
Oh man, what a story, what a cycle, you know. Anyway, one more point I was going to make on that is that what I was talking about before is that you know, since we also have other sad news, is that you know, as you know, Stan Lee is no longer with us, and so here's to you, Stan Lee, and the other thing that made me think of, you know, how should you treat your opponent is, you know, Stanley had a lot of values that he portrayed with, you know, with these superheroes, and I think a lot of the superheroes would actually come out on the side of, you know, you should be more civil to your opponent. You know, the only thing I can think of right now is, I think actually Batman did this too, but definitely Wonder Woman would help up her, you know, her opponents that were, you know, that would always end like dangling off a cliff or something, you know. She would always help them up and make sure not to hurt them, and not to hurt them too badly, I guess, and not to kill them, because you know, I think not just because she believed in it morally, but also because, you know, there is a cycle of revenge, and, you know, and that person's relative might come back for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, that's another thing to keep in mind when it comes to that. You know, obviously, you know, we like to believe that fighting is more civilized, and so, you know, it's not a life and death situation most of the time, but yeah, that is kind of something to think about. So, you know, it's just a kind of nod to all the superheroes as well. Stanley.
Exactly. Also, another great fight, speaking of Oscar De La Hoya, Oscar De La Hoya versus Ricardo Mayorga, and Mayorga, he was really belligerent with Oscar. He was calling him a you know, he was calling him a fag, and you know, he even said at a press conference one time, he said, you know, you better go sleep with your wife tonight, because I'm not gonna lie down for you, just like you did for Hopkins. And then, you know, he's calling him a faggot, and you know, and he says you don't know how to represent your race. You know, your people are my people now. And you know, and he was talking all that shit, and Oscar, he said in Spanish, first you insult my family, then you insult my race. This isn't a game. I'm gonna knock you out.
Exactly. exactly. Like I said, cycle of revenge.
Yeah. Oscar. That's the thing about Oscar. If you got under Oscar's skin, oh, he was gonna fuck you up. Like I remember I remember like Vargas was talking shit to him. Mayorga talked shit to him, and De La Hoya stepped up to the plate and just whooped him.
Right. Exactly.
And of course, Mayorga apologized after the fight. He said, "Yeah, I apologize. That was publicity for the fight." And
right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I feel like there's a lot of times we've talked about this before, that in the weigh-ins, the press conferences, there's a lot of times where it's like you have to say something tough, you know what I mean? And so I feel like there's this culture where you do have to say something tough, but hopefully a lot of times they know it is for the fans, for the I almost said the game, but for the sport, you know what I mean? And it's not always personal, but sometimes it can get fiery when it is personal, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it's like I feel like there's like the pressure to say something tough, but then there's also the consequences, obviously, of going too far with that. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, another great fight. This one we covered on an episode of Ringside. Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks. Yep, the 91-second knockout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we did that episode. That was also the same episode where we did on Roberto Duran versus Davey Moore.
Yeah, exactly.
And let me tell you something, man. That was the beginning of Mike Tyson ruining everybody's night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, 91 seconds. That's got to go down, and as one of the shortest knockouts. I mean, short of Ronda Rousey's knockout, sadly. At the end of 2016. But yeah, that's like one of the definitely one of the shortest main event fights. And as you said last time, one of those that really pisses fans off.
No, yeah, exactly. Because it's like you pay for the fight, and then all of a sudden you get 91 seconds, and you're like, right. Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I just got the pizza and shit.
Yep, exactly. That's why you get the pizza in the undercard.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else is another good fight from HBO? Oh, Meldrick Taylor versus Julio Cesar Chavez. Yeah, the first fight. Yeah, and we actually talked about it on one of our episodes. We talked about when should a fight be stopped.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. That fight definitely had to be stopped. Yeah, that fight definitely had to be stopped, even though there was like 5 seconds. Because the thing is, it's like, that guy's face, he took a beating. Taylor's face, you remember that? It was all swelled up.
Yes.
He had blood in his kidneys, and well, blood is urine, from damaged kidneys.
Right.
And his face looked like he was trying to make out with a bullet train.
Yeah, I was about to say. I knew you were going to say the bullet train thing. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, I mean that's like some of the worst results when they look like they're making out with a Mack truck or a bullet train. That it was a bad night.
Yeah, exactly. And and of course, I saw Rocky. I'm sorry, not Rocky, but Creed 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw it last night. By the way, this is a spoiler, so this is one of the spoilers. Yeah, so if you guys, yeah, or fast forward through this. Of course, Adonis Creed fights Victor Drago.
Right.
Yep, Ivan Drago's son.
Yeah.
And in their first fight, Victor got himself disqualified by hitting him when he was down.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you hit him when he was down, he was, saying he also damaged his kidneys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Adonis, he had like a, he hurt his eye, and then also he had a fractured kidney.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's interesting, to think about like the story arc with these videos that like that's Creed, Creed is his son, and this is Victor's son as well. So it's like it's like this, like I said before, with the consequences and whatnot. This is like this really is the relaying of the same grudge, down through another generation. They're both the sons of the other people, so it's like the same grudge, now with the next generation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, Creed wins the rematch. Yeah, actually, Drago, Ivan, he threw in the towel for his son. And he just like, and he was like, it's okay, son, it's okay. Yeah, because he saw that his son was getting the shit kicked out of him, right? And he didn't want him to die. So
right, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And also another great fight that happened on HBO was I'm losing my shit here. It's the alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Blame it on the cider. Yeah.
Yep. Blame it on the hard cider. Another great fight that happened on HBO was Floyd Mayweather versus Miguel Cotto.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That was the last fight before Mayweather went to prison, and then he got out and did the fights for Showtime. Yeah, I mean that was like his toughest fight. Out of all the tough fights in his careers, I mean, I think that one was the most toughest.
Right.
Yeah, because he had blood coming out of his nose. Yeah, Mayweather did, but of course he persevered and he got through it, and of course that fight he had 50 Cent, Justin Bieber, and Triple H walk with him at ringside.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crew. That's a motley crew, all right.
Well, of course, Mayweather did WrestleMania. The match with the Big Show. So.
Yeah.
All right, another great fight that happened on HBO. Roberto Duran versus Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Of course, we tried to do a ringside episode with that, and just like I mentioned before, we're going to be doing a live episode. That's going to be happening on December 8th.
8th, yes.
Yep, December 8th. So tune in that Saturday for that episode. And when you and I were watching, I mean, I've seen that fight like 100 times.
Yeah.
But when you and I were watching it, I mean, it must have been great. It must have been a good experience for you watching those two guys just go back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, it really is something. It's definitely something. You can. There's actually a small segment of that that taping that did survive. That's on YouTube now, so check that out. But yeah, that was definitely definitely something else, and I can see why it's high on your list. Of all the fights that you know about.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is. And it is worth watching it if you ever go on YouTube. Yep. And also, another good fight that happened on HBO, Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson. Of course, that was co-promoted by both HBO and Showtime.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and of course, we did an episode on that. We talked about it on the, the anniversary of that fight.
Yes.
Yep, that's when Mike Tyson bit Lennox Lewis on the ear. Then he went crazy at the press conference saying, fuck you in your ass, you punk white boy, and, fuck you till you love me, faggot. And then, of course, eventually he got his ass whooped.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a sweet... I mean, I do like Tyson, but sweet karma nonetheless.
Well, it was a different time.
Yes.
It was a different time.
I wasn't even talking about the homophobia. We've talked about homophobia, in fighting before. I wasn't even talking about that. But, yes. Yeah, indeed. I think it's time for something else right now.
Oh. All right, and another great fight.
No.
What?
It's time for... Oh. Do I have to tell you?
Oh, okay. Well, there's more fights I want to get into. But...
You will. You get back to them. That's the point of this.
Okay.
It's a breather.
All right, we'll take a breather. We're gonna take a breather, and we're gonna get into the world outside the ring.
Yes.
All right, Gabe, let's go.
All right. So, we've been talking about the end of something, the end of boxing on HBO. But looking into the future, what will it bring? So, there's obviously, boxing's going to keep going. It's just exploding. So we decided, we want to just not just look back and pity, but let's look forward. What is the future of fighting and the future of boxing have for us? So, it's interesting. I think there's two different things going on here. There's obviously we talked about before. It was just recently that MMA, I think, was legal in New York, and so that's that was a huge moment, and that opened up a huge marketplace, so I think that will keep going. We're gonna have MMA legal all across the country, so yeah, it will get more intense, more rowdy. So I do wonder, where exactly the ceiling, is, or if there is one. But then, along with it getting more sensational, more over the top, I think there's also kind of a stepping back. There's also going back to the roots, and we did a ringside where it was just about bare knuckle boxing. You remember that? Yeah, and how that's becoming really popular as well, and in my opinion, that's because it is kind of going back to the roots of what fighting is and was, that all of you could say all of this started with street fights, that you had to actually just be there in person to see, back in the day, and and now with YouTube and cameras everywhere, there is bare knuckle boxing. There can be just a random fight that breaks out anywhere, and someone films it, and then there you go. We can all enjoy that, and that is just completely random and spontaneous. You know what I mean? So I think there will, as much as there will be more over the top matches, and and more and more hype for the bigger matches. There's actually going to be a lot more kind of bare knuckle videos as well, and there's going to be and there already is a resurgence of bare knuckle boxing. So I think there's going to be more of that going into the future, because for every action, there's an opposite reaction. You probably heard that. So what that means here is that for all the big top ticket matches, there is going to be people that want to go back to the simpler times, to the street fights, and so there's going to then be like I said, I think there's going to still be a lot of street fights, a lot of bare knuckle matches that we can only see from YouTube videos and stuff like that. So yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think that'll continue to be a big thing?
Yeah, I think that will continue to be a big thing, because there's two organizations, so it's only going to get higher and higher
right
from there. But as far as the future of boxing, it's there's still Showtime. I mean, Showtime is still pulling in ratings.
Yep.
And of course, there's DAZN. DAZIN.
Yep.
And they just signed Canelo Alvarez and Golden Boy Promotions, and they also got Bellator. So a lot of a lot of good boxing matches are still on there, and there's also ESPN with Top Rank.
Oh, yep. And I was gonna say while you were saying that is that there's they'll probably grow in audience, or at least they should, with everyone no longer being able to go to HBO, that's probably a good day for boxing on Showtime, for boxing on DAZN or DAZN or whatever that name is, and and those type of networks, if they were smart, they would keep on with it, and they would those two should be vying with each other to take the bulk of the audience, that was now lost from HBO, and bring it to themselves. I think we were talking about that last time, whether or not Showtime will also drop boxing, but and there might be some pressure to do so, because there's, people will say, oh, well, there's the trend, and if HBO does it, then you should be doing it too. But at the same time, there's always going to be a big audience, for boxing, they're already there. So,
well, Showtime got signed a 3-year deal with PBC, Premier Boxing Champions.
Okay, there you go.
And so they're not going to be going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, that's
especially
a good point.
when you look at the lineup of matches they got, especially the Browner versus Pacquiao pay-per-view.
Yeah.
January 19th.
There you go.
And
so they are doing that. They are saying, no, we're gonna go even more towards boxing, because now there's still the same audience, for it, and now all of the audience that was being split between us and kind of did a dap in the sneeze there. Anyway, all of the audience that was being split between us and HBO, now we should just bring them all over to us, so so Showtime should go even bigger with boxing now and be like, we're the ones to go to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also Showtime, let's see, with Showtime also, they're just, they've been around almost as long as HBO. And with Showtime, they're still pumping out movies and stuff like that, but HBO is still, their boxing is still number one.
Right, yeah, there you go.
And HBO, their boxing ratings weren't that good, and now you understand why. It's like, no matter how good something is to old school fans, no matter how much nostalgia you rely on, at the end of the day, it is a business, and you have to be willing to turn a profit. And of course, they weren't turning a profit with boxing on HBO. They were making a profit with their original TV series and their sports documentaries.
Yes, which they'll continue to do.
Yeah, and also I think it's also because like HBO now has to compete with the Netflixes and the Amazons. And Hulus.
I mean, that's the problem with all the network TVs, is that you have to compete with that, and it's definitely a thing. I think we talked about this on last time on this on the last episode about this, is that also the other question when it comes to the future of boxing and of combat sports is streaming platforms. I think streaming platforms have the potential to be really big, but it kind of depends, you know what I mean? They have to, the audience already is where the audience is, which was with HBO and Showtime. Now will be with Showtime and Decline, so I think even though streaming is the future for a lot of things, including regular TV shows and movies and such, I think they'll actually have to work harder to try and get the combat sports audience over there, and I'm not sure if they'll be able to do it. I don't know. What do you think?
Wait, what
streaming platforms.
Streaming platforms. I think streaming platforms. They're gonna be able to be successful with streaming fights, and of course, not everybody can afford them and stuff. So it also depends on the price. It also depends on your cable bill and shit like that.
Yeah.
And 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 the one flaw with Netflix, is that when you watch their original series, it's like they don't always give a specific date of when it's gonna come, when a show is gonna come. Like for example, I've been waiting on the second season of The Punisher. I thought it was gonna come out in November, and I go online and I say like, hey, when's it coming? When's season 2? When's season 2? And I've heard like they're in production, and it's like, really? It's like you've had almost a whole year. It's like what the fuck is up?
Yeah, that actually is a good point. Yeah, there's it's not as precise. It's not as and therefore you can't plan around it. And yeah, there should be a lot better kind of like news and updates about stuff like that. There's actually speaking of which, there's actually is completely different, but I'm kind of a fan of the show Riverdale, and I remember that was a Netflix show, and then and that took forever for the second season to come out, like literally. And
wait a minute, that's a CW show.
Exactly. So it was a Netflix show, and they actually canceled it on Netflix. But it actually was. It's a very rare, weird situation where it was actually saved by network TV. Who would have thought that a Netflix show could be saved by network TV? But that's what happened. The CW picked it up for the second season.
Really, I did not know that.
Yep, and the only reason I finally found out is because it was also over a year. It was like what's going on? They said there was going to be a second season. It's because Netflix has to if it's on cable TV, Netflix has to wait until the entire season is done in order to put it on. So it was airing one episode at a time on the CW, and then they had to wait for that whole season to be done before it was on Netflix. So that's actually what happened there, and it's interesting. I think it might happen again with other things in the future, but we'll see. But yeah, so so it is a CW show now, but yeah, that's so that's what happened. But there was definitely not enough news about that. People are like, what the hell's going on? So yeah. They definitely have to get better at stuff like that. At updating the fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And also I find that show Riverdale a little strange. It's like because it's based off the Archie comics, but it's like you're taking the Archie comics and you're making it dark.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I just can't get into that.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel the same way because I actually am a pretty big fan of the Archie comics. This is something I didn't know if I would ever admit on this air that one of the few comic books I actually followed as a kid was Archie. So yes, I know I'm the nerd, whatever. But yeah, so I actually know like all the Archie stories, and I wasn't as big into superheroes. Sorry, Stanley, but yeah, so yeah, as a fan of the comics, I'm like, oh, this is not as good. But as a fan of TV, I like it because I feel like it's more gritty, it's more adult. You know what I mean? It's definitely more suggestive and sexual. So, I don't know. I kind of don't like what they did with it, but the fact that it actually brought Archie back into the like minds of the younger generation, I think is worth it in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean the first time I heard of Archie, it was the song "Sugar Sugar" that was on an episode of The Simpsons when Homer and Ned Flanders were stranded. They were stranded on on the water with the junior campers.
Yes.
Of course, I didn't know that was an Archie song until like years later.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there was an Archie reference on The Simpsons when when you saw like after Sideshow Bob put all his campaign pins on Bart and they put it right. He dropped him off at his house, and then like after that, you see the Archie and his gang. Like,
yes, exactly.
They come up in the truck, and then they push Homer out, and he goes, and the guy goes, stay out of Riverdale.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, and of course, I go online, I go on YouTube with that clip, and people ask like, what did Homer do to get
yeah. No, I think what happened, I remember that episode. I think what happened earlier is that they were it was also a reference to Deep Throat, the whole thing that brought down Nixon in the 70s. They Bart and Lisa go out and are in the parking garage, and that's how it happened with Deep Throat, and to find out secret information. And which turns out to be from Waylon Smithers, in a bad disguise. But anyway, they're like, Lisa's like, I feel like detectives, or whatever. I feel like Nancy Drew or like one of these detectives. And Bart's like, yeah, but the detectives wouldn't have, their dad waiting in the car reading Archie comics. Yeah. And so anyway, he's reading the comics and is angrily like, oh, Riverdale punks. So anyway, I think that's what that was about. Is that
that was after. That was
no. I think that was before.
No. First, it was he gets dropped off his home and they go.
I do actually know The Simpsons. I might not know a lot about combat sports, but I know The Simpsons.
Yeah, me too, man. I watched The Simpsons too back in the day. Yeah. But first, it was Homer gets dropped off and he goes, "Stay out of Riverdale," and then they do because that was after Sideshow Bob. Then later on, Sideshow Bob wins the election, and then Waylon Smithers says, "I worked on the campaign."
I still think it was before, and I still think it was because why would that make any sense with him getting thrown out of the car? They had to first set up the whole thing about Archie, that he's reading Archie angrily and disses them. I think that's what that was about, is that he dissed them, while he was reading the comics, and then later on they push him out of the car. Stay out of Riverdale.
Oh yeah, okay, whatever. But
anyway.
Also, like on the episode of Baby Blues, they, you hear the scene. There's a scene where the wife and the babysitter, they, they're with the babysitter's like teenage friends, and then she thinks they're gonna be at like a teen community center, and then you hear sugar, and then one of the friends, she goes, "Oh, I hope they have pizza pie and soda pop." Yeah, because that's the thing in the Archie anthology. It was all like, pizza pies and soda pop.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they kept calling it pop, even for a long time, and like it was Pop's. Those that watched the Riverdale show, the Pop's Chocolate Shop. That's from the comics as well, and it was like that was like a old fashioned like soda diner from back in the day. They called it the chocolate shop, but it's really a soda shop. Sody pop. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sody pop. Yeah. I actually thought pop was just a Chicago thing.
Yeah, I mean it is a Midwestern. I think it is a Midwestern thing. So it's kind of funny why they would call it pop in the comics when that is a national.
Yeah, because Riverdale's like New Jersey.
Well, actually, no. I think Riverdale is not in a place like Springfield. In fact, in The Simpsons.
Well, I know there's a Riverdale in New Jersey. So.
Okay, yeah, but I don't think it's them. I think it's like The Simpsons, where they don't want to actually say what state they're in.
Okay.
Springfield. There's actually like 5 different real Springfields in the country. And,
there's like there's one in like I think there's one in Oregon. There's one in Illinois, and then
isn't there a Springfield here in Massachusetts? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, and every time they try and say what state it is, there's something that like stops them or obscures it. So anyway, I think Riverdale's the same thing. Like they tried to like make it any town in the country. Like they don't want to actually say what state it's from.
But now to veer back to the future of boxing broadcasting, I think it's still going to be. I think it's only going to get brighter and brighter, and especially with PBC, and also Fox is getting in the pay-per-view business as well. With Errol Spence's fight that's coming up in Dallas,
right,
soon in the new year. I mean, of course, it's still going to be a big blow for HBO fans because it's like HBO. There's It's no longer HBO, and
yeah, exactly. I mean, and I can imagine as a fight fan, as a fight fan first and foremost, like that's probably the main thing you went to HBO for, and now it's like, it's not the same thing at all, and will never be again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is so many years, and of course, it's really fucked up now. It's more fucked up now because Sling no longer carries it. Oh, I hate Sling now.
Right.
And now not only can I not now because they canceled HBO. Not only can I watch the last 2 fights, but also I can't watch Ballers and Big Little Lies and their documentaries and shit. Yeah, and also I was looking forward to that second season of Big Little Lies too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, we probably shouldn't go on to another tangent, but yes, Big Little Lies definitely also a phenomenon. I'd like to see what happens there.
Yeah, granted, it has our least favorite actress Meryl Streep on there, but I was kind of looking, I was kind of looking forward to watching the first season.
The second season.
Yeah, the second season.
Yes.
Jacking off to Nicole Kidman and Zoe Kravitz and what's that?
Yeah, they'll probably have another sex scene with her.
Yeah, what's that other girl? The one from the Divergent series.
What's her name?
The actress's name?
Shailene Woodley.
Oh yeah, Shailene Woodley. By the way, on the shows. Still can't believe she's a mom. It's like,
I know.
Oh, damn.
I know. We talked about this on another episode. How sometimes it's when you, especially with action stars, I think especially when you see them in a regular role, it's like letdown. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not. Well, this isn't a letdown. It's like, I mean, granted, she has a kid born due to a rape. But it's still, you look at her, you're just like, oh man, if she was a mom in real life, man, that would be a mother I definitely would like to fuck.
Yep, indeed, yep. And then of course, there's also Reese Witherspoon. Let's not forget about her.
Oh yeah, she's definitely a mother I would love to fuck. Nicole Kidman's a mother I'd love to fuck.
Yeah, if this guy, if he was there at that school, we'd have to keep him away from all of them.
Yeah. Also, what's her name? What was it Dennis Hopper's daughter? Something. She used to be married to Billy Bob Thornton before
Jolie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Lauren something. Okay. Again, it's the cider.
Yep, exactly. Blame it on the cider.
Yep. But oh man, I mean she's old, but but she's still that's a mother I still definitely would love to fuck. Yeah. But yeah, man, we're like I said before in an earlier episode, we're gonna be in mourning, until January.
Exactly.
Yeah, so rest in peace, HBO. Yeah. And to wrap this up, get into some more fights. What I was gonna mention before we got into the world outside the ring. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Thomas Hearns, their first fight. I mean, that was a good fight because it started out that Tommy Hearns was the predator. He was the one stalking Ray, and he was winning the fight. And then Sugar Ray, came back with the flurries. And then Sugar Ray, he was the one being the stalker, and Tommy was the one, boxing and using the jab and moving, and got him back in the fight. And then Sugar Ray came back in the later rounds and stopped the fight.
Interesting. Yeah. As they say, turnabout is fair play.
Well, yeah, it was. It was like, it was great role reversal. It was like the boxer became the slugger, and then the slugger became the boxer.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. That's a fight that's definitely a work of art. Meryl Streep.
Right. Yeah, and I think I'll say as someone who is just a casual fan, that is the type of thing that kind of brings us in and actually keeps us casual fans involved is when there is stunning developments like that, so turnabout is one way that can happen.
Yeah, and also there's Sugar Ray Leonard versus Tommy Hearns Part 2, their rematch.
Yep.
Yeah, the rematch ended in a draw.
Oh.
Although a lot of people thought that Sugar Ray lost, and actually, even Sugar Ray years later admitted he thought, yeah, Tommy won.
Mm.
Though Sugar Ray did put up a good fight. He got knocked down twice in the fight, but he still hung in there and stuff.
Yeah.
And that actually took place in June of '89, which was the same month that the Batman movie came out. Yeah, Batman 1989, and the anniversary is going to be coming up soon. So,
okay.
Yay!
Whoop whoop!
Yeah, huge fan. That was the first action movie I saw, the first comic book movie I saw, and the first Batman movie I ever saw.
Oh, wow. Triple whammy.
Yeah, introduced me to Batman.
There we go.
Yeah. Also, Miguel Cotto versus Manny Pacquiao.
Mm-hmm.
And, Manny Pacquiao really put a whooping on Miguel Cotto. Other than the first fight with Sergio Margarito, that is the worst beating Miguel Cotto ever took. Because, he got knocked down in this, I think it was like the second round or third round, he got knocked down twice, and then he was just bleeding, and, he was really getting fucked up by Manny. In fact, it was so bad that, remember, Miguel's wife and their youngest child, they had to leave ringside.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and of course we talked about that in other episodes and stuff like that. And let me tell you something: if you're the kid of a fighter, it's hard to see a parent, getting his ass kicked.
Yeah,
his or hers.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. How it must be tough. There's the glory of it, and I think we've discussed this on previous episodes. Like, there's the glory, there's the determination, and so when it is just about your fans, or whatnot, it is like the determination. I gotta stay in the ring as long as I can. I gotta see this through. I gotta, blah blah blah. But yeah, it's got to be a different thing when your kid's watching. It's one thing to be like, oh, I'm gonna hang on as long as I can for my glory, or whatever. But yeah, your kid, your wife, it doesn't matter, if you have your glory, if your face is like, cut in half, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. Also, hey,
I just realized, by the way, that you were actually right about the Simpsons thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because
winner and still heavyweight champion.
yeah. I'll admit it. I'll admit when I'm wrong. Because he was saying lousy Riverdale punks because they threw him out.
So that but it still leads to the question. That it's like
it still leads to the question: why did he get thrown out in the first place?
Yeah, it's like, what did he do? We know Homer's a fuck up, but it's like, how did he fuck up in Riverdale?
Exactly. Yeah, maybe that should be its own they're still doing episodes. Maybe that should be its own thing later on.
Wait, they're still doing episodes of The Simpsons?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
In the words of Brian Griffin, oh God, just die already.
Right.
Yeah. But let's see.
They've actually gone into some things that they still haven't gone into, believe it or not. Like, who's the character? Anyway, I'll tell you later. But yeah, there's actually one episode I saw recently. It was like, they went into like the weird music teacher guy. They went into his story and stuff. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Also, if your dad was a fighter and he was if he was getting the beating that he took in the Cotto versus Pacquiao fight, if he was the one getting beat, how do you think you and your 3 other siblings would have reacted to that?
Right, exactly. I mean, yeah, my sisters would probably be really wrecked. Me, now, I mean, that's the other thing. How old am I? Am I 10? Am I 15? Because, yeah, I think that would be a different story. I think I would also be pretty wrecked. But me now, I wouldn't like it, but I would probably stay through just because, I don't know. I feel like I would probably stay through and see it, and it wouldn't be so bad, but I would be like, you know, why'd you have to do it? You know, why'd you have to stay in?
Yeah, you'd be like Lena in that episode of Futurama. She like, you'd be like, come on, Dad, die with dignity.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That would be me. Yep. Yeah, I think yeah, and it's interesting because they've you know, they've obviously tried to tackle this question and, you know, in different pop culture, you know, in fighter movies, you know, they
yeah, that episode was, by the way, was the that was a spoof on the episode of Star Trek where Spock and Spock
was
and
it Spock and Kirk that had
had the fight on Spock's home planet.
Yes, that's right. Yep, and there you go. But yeah, I was also gonna say, oh yeah, Friends did that thing. We've talked about that before, where Friends did, you know, when it was still early and they were actually calling it the Ultimate Fighting Champion. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so Friends did that thing. Monica was actually the girlfriend of the guy getting beat up.
Yeah. Also, by the way, I saw that that skit on SNL. The character, I forget her name. She's a new member of SNL, but she's funny, man.
Yeah, she is really funny.
Yeah,
and so she was the girlfriend of every boxer in a movie ever.
Yeah, she's like, I'm taking my kids to my sisters.
To my sisters. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that sounds your sisters would be like that. They'd be like, look, we're taking the kids, okay? We are not going to sit through this anymore.
Right.
Right. And now to round it all up,
yep.
Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Tommy Hearns, especially the first 3 minutes. Oh, man, there was just back and forth. I mean, sweat was flying off their heads. Sweat was actually coming out of the TV.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, sweating like Patrick Ewing in the 4th quarter.
Right.
And then... last but not least, my all-time favorite fight of the 1980s, my all-time favorite fight of boxing in the middleweight division, also all-time favorite fight in HBO, Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Sugar Ray Leonard.
Right.
And with Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, he was just like, you know, he's using his speed and his fast hands. He actually beat Marvin. He was just... bang, bang, bang.
Right.
And Marvelous Marvin Hagler, of course, you know, he retired after that fight and just became a bitter old crow. But, you know, Sugar Ray Leonard did beat him. You know what I'm saying? He just had faster hand punches and he punched more than Hagler. You know what I'm saying? And, and of course, nobody gave Sugar Ray Leonard a chance in that fight.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. And that was like, that was back in '87, and Sugar Ray Leonard continued to fight off and on after that. You know, the Diane Lalonde fight, which, by the way, that's going to be on the episode of the live. The live episode of Ringside. There's going to be Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Roberto Duran.
Yep.
And Diane Lalonde versus Sugar Ray Leonard.
All right. Yeah. Check that out on Facebook when we go live on December 8th.
Yep. And hopefully this episode we'll make the YouTube channel. Hopefully we won't have any technical difficulties. But you know, continue to watch the other episodes on youtube.com/BloodyknucklesTV. And also go to the Beatdown Facebook page. And next week I'm going to be back with a new episode of Ringside. The new episode of the Beer and Brawl Show.
There we go.
And of course, I already put up the promotions for that, and so you know what you're gonna see on there. So tune in next Friday night.
All right.
So from Beantown to your town, this is the Beantown Beatdown. Matthew Barris,
Gabe Shamus,
Vios con Dios.